Welcome to GBALL Vision, everyone. I hope you are having an awesome day today. I have a quick comparison video to do for you guys. We are going to be talking about some of my favorite Cleaver sheep's foot style blades today, and I'd like to do a little comparison between four knives that I think are absolutely fantastic knives and all have somewhat similar characteristics. So from top to bottom, we have the Vosteed Mayhem, we have the EMP EDC Thick Boy version 2, we have the Sparrow Knife Co. Strix, and then we have the new breed EDC Clydesdale. Now, I think in each knife there is some very good, great quality when we are talking about each one of these knives individually. They are all absolutely fantastic. They all have a pretty unique look, a pretty unique blade shape as well. And these were the four that I wanted to get into a video together because they all kind of, remind me, from one extreme to the other. The Thick Boy's a little more cleavery, and then you kind of step into like a sheep's foot cleaver here with the Strix, and then you kind of go to like a sheep's foot warny here, and then you're more of like a warny sheep's foot with the Vosteed. So they kind of all are in the same family in a sense. They all have that long edge going to a subtle point, and some are more cleavery than others, but so going from top to bottom, this is using a compression lock for the Vosteed's locking mechanism. This is using a bolster lock for the EMP EDC Thick Boy version 2. This is a frame lock for the Strix, and the Clydesdale is going to be a liner lock. So we have quite a few differences, but this is the type of blade shape that I have really become accustomed to carrying a lot. I'm a huge fan of a sheep's foot cleaver Wharncliffe style blade, and a couple years ago it was something that I wouldn't have even really considered. Maybe a little consideration, but after getting some really good ones in hand, carrying them and using them, I have found this blade shape to be one of the most utilitarian blade shapes, period. A good sheep's foot, Wharncliffe, even Cleaver style blade is some of the most utilitarian, as far as EDC goes and even a work knife goes. They are absolutely fantastic for cutting, slicing, breaking things down, getting in behind strapping. Now, some will be better than others at that. Getting in behind strapping is going to be like a Wharncliffe or modified sheep's foot specialty, getting in behind something and doing like a pull cut towards yourself. But as far as like slicing tasks and those kind of cuts, a cleaver blade is going to be absolutely perfect, especially if it's a sort of detailed cut that you have to be very precise with. It is something that I really like and look forward to using a lot of the time. Now, I'd like to take a quick minute to talk about this knife. This is a prototype, new breed EDC Clydesdale. It is a prototype. There is a pre-order for these up right now. It is a Kubi OEM'd project with new breed, and in my short time with this knife, I think it is absolutely fantastic. There's a big difference from this one to these three. This is about half the cost of any one of these knives without question. This is coming in right around $115, I believe. The next cheapest one's going to be this one at like $250, and then these two are going to be quite a bit more, over double. So my point being is, if you like this blade shape or want to try out some semblance of one of these blade shapes, the Clydesdale is definitely worth taking a look at and considering, you know, and consider picking one up because of the build quality, the materials, and the price. It's very, very hard to beat this exact model and this design if you are interested in a blade shape that is similar to one of these four. You're going to get the utility of the straight edge. You're still going to maintain a nice pokey tip. You're going to have a hollow grind on the production ones using 14C28N, which is a phenomenal steel at like the $120 price point or under. It's very tough stuff. It is meant to be a blade steel. You know, Sandvik 14C28N, it is made to be a blade steel. Unlike some steels, it was created to be a razor blade, a knife steel. I believe it was first used in razors maybe, or other variations of Sandvik steels were used in razor blades. So 14C is a great steel at the end of the day, using titanium handles, titanium accents with the backspacer, pocket clip. So it's a phenomenal value here in the Clydesdale. The Strix are very hard to get. The thick boys are, you know, very hard to get as well. Probably going to be impossible at this point. And then the Vosteed Mayhem, or I don't know what they're calling it at this point, but the Mayhem is what it used to be known as. I don't know what they went to since then, but these will be dropping again in their original form. And then there's also exclusives of this knife coming, I believe, in October, November, in that area. So, and then the Strix will be coming back around too. But the thick boy is going to be ultimately very hard to get unless you can get it on the secondary. There will not be any more runs of the thick boy, at least in the coming future. John has decided to put a halt to that project basically, and I think go in a different direction, sadly. But, you know, I'm sure he has something else in mind, you know, to kind of take the place of the thick boy. But these are available right now to pick up on a pre-order, and I believe the pre-order is, you know, less than 3 months. So if you order one of these, you get entered to win a giveaway, and you'll have the knife within a couple of months. So a typical routine pre-order, couple months, no big deal. Kubi does a great job on their own knives and their OEM projects, so, you know, not a single worry when it comes to ordering one of these. And I think if you could locate any one of these 4 knives, you would be extremely happy to do so. The only reason I bring this one into the equation is it's available right now for pre-order. It's a great price, and then you contrast that with the materials. It is an exceptional value, and it hits really hard on that ratio of price to quality to materials. It does an outstanding job. And because my time with this knife is short, I had my idea for this video from the minute I kind of got this in, and it, you know, this is something that I wanted to get on video and kind of do a comparison. And this comparison is not to single out any one of these knives as being better than the other or anything like that. It is basically just to put some things in perspective and just show some different models that kind of resemble each other. And I know there are a ton of guys out there who, you know, probably don't use a sheep's foot or Wharncliffe or Cleaver because they're just not used to it. They might not like some of the aesthetics of it or what have you. And I was one of those people at one point too, you know, and it's until you get some of these in hand, you use it, you really get a feel for how well they work in a everyday situation. Now, don't get me wrong. I love drop points and I love tantos and clip points and all that sort of thing. I love all of them. But there's something about a sheep's foot Warney style blade that is just ultra useful. And, you know, they're not the best tactical knives, no. And that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about utility, usefulness in an everyday situation. This isn't something I would pick up for a defensive situation or something that, you know, I would think of when if I had to be prepared to possibly be in a self-defense situation. These aren't knives that I would pick up. That's not what we're talking about. And I think that's where things get twisted up, is a lot of people have this notion that a knife is tactical based, and it's really, you know, multifaceted. Knives have all kinds of different uses, whether it's tactical, whether it's an everyday use, whether it's a work-related scenario, whether it's in the garden or out on the farm or whatever. There are tons of different use cases for knives, and that's why I love having a variety of different blade shapes, blade steels, locking mechanisms, and that whole gambit of what knives really are, because they have such a multifaceted thing about them. It's really intriguing once you really start breaking down. You know, a knife isn't just tactical. It's not just work. It's not just EDC, or it's not just being out in the garden or on the farm. You know, it has a ton of different layers, and that's kind of one thing I wanted to bring up here with these 4 knives is, you know, they're not your typical looking knife, but what they are is very useful. And I love each and every one of these knives. I think they are all amazing in their own right. And like I said, you would be glad to have any one of these 4 knives. You know, the Vosteed, the EMP, the Sparrow Knife Co., and the New Breed EDC. I think they're all fantastic. There is no question in my mind they are some of the most utilitarian blade shapes when it comes to utility and EDC and work-related type tasks. So that is something I just wanted to kind of dive into on this video and in this comparison. You'll have to leave it down in the comments. Let me know what you think of Wharncliffes and sheep's foots, Cleaver style blades, and that sort of thing. I know it took me a little bit to get to this point, but over the last year or maybe even a little longer, I've been a huge fan of these knives. So you'll have to let me know down in the comments what you think of these. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below. I'd love to have you here. We have lots of stuff coming down the pipe and a lot of exciting stuff. Give me a thumbs up. I'm going to throw up 2 new videos, and I will definitely catch you on the next one.